This story is titled, I Paid for Girlfriend College Tuition for Years, only to find out that she was cheating with her ex and they were mocking me. So I made sure they never forget this for the rest of their life. My ultimate revenge. Hey everyone, before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hi Reddit, I'm Daniel, 38 male. For 5 years, I was in a relationship with Mia, 28 female. On the outside, we looked like the perfect couple. We talked about marriage, kids, and building a future together. But sometimes life kicks you in the face when you least expect it. 2 years ago, Mia left her steady office job to pursue her dream of becoming a medical professional. I supported her 100%. I covered all the rent, bills, groceries, and even helped pay her tuition when her savings ran out. I didn't complain because I loved her, and that's what you do for the people you care about, right? I kept telling myself that every time I worked extra hours or skipped treating myself so she could chase her dream. I felt good being the one providing for her, but over time, that weight became harder to carry. Supporting Mia was more than just financial. I became her cheerleader, her emotional rock, and the person she vented to when classes got tough. At first, it felt rewarding. I'd listen to her stress about exams or demanding professors, always assuring her that she was capable and brilliant. I'd surprise her with little things to make her life easier, a meal ready when she came home, a care package during exam weeks, and once, even a handwritten note hidden in her backpack wishing her luck. But somewhere along the way, things started shifting. The gratitude I initially felt from her turned into expectation. The small smiles and thank yous I loved getting from her disappeared, replaced by an air of entitlement. The changes in her behavior started slow. Late nights at school turned into library sessions, and then mysterious texts from classmates appeared. I brushed it off, telling myself I was overthinking. But then came the cryptic Instagram stories. Selfies, campus snaps, and quotes like, "Sometimes you have to lose yourself to find yourself." Who even says that? She had never been this active on social media before. Something felt off, but I chose to ignore it. Love makes you blind and, apparently, stupid. The social media activity wasn't just unusual, it was unsettling. Mia had always been someone who valued her privacy. Suddenly, she'd post pictures of herself out with people I didn't recognize, captioned with things like, "New beginnings," or "Chasing my dreams." It was subtle, but it felt like she was crafting an image of herself that didn't include me. I'd bring it up casually, asking who she was with or why she felt the need to share so much online, and her responses were dismissive. "Just classmates," she'd say, or "It's just fun." When I'd ask about her day, her answers were always vague. I'd see her texting at night, and she'd shrug it off, saying it was just study group stuff. But deep down, I knew. Those late-night study sessions were feeling more like excuses than explanations. I wanted proof before jumping to conclusions, so I stayed quiet. It wasn't just her words that felt off. It was her actions. Mia used to light up when we spent time together. Movie nights, cooking dinner as a team, or just sitting on the couch talking about our day. Those moments had been the foundation of our relationship. But now she was distant. She'd sit with her phone glued to her hand, laughing at messages I couldn't see. Our conversations felt forced, like she was going through the motions. One night, I caught her giggling while texting in bed. I asked her what was so funny, and she said it was just a meme from a classmate. When I asked to see it, she hesitated before showing me something that felt too generic to be the source of her amusement. It wasn't much, but it planted a seed of doubt. I started noticing patterns. Her phone was always on silent, flipped face down when we were together. She'd disappear into the bathroom for longer than usual, phone in hand. And then there were the late nights. She'd tell me she had to stay at the library or meet with her group for a project, but her explanations started to sound rehearsed. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to trust that the person I'd built a life with wouldn't betray me. But the gut feeling that something was wrong grew stronger every day. Still, I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself I was imagining things because I didn't want to face the possibility that the woman I loved was lying to me. The breaking point came one evening when I overheard her on the phone. I was in the kitchen, and she was in the living room, speaking in hushed tones. "Yeah, I'll see you later," she said, her voice soft and almost flirtatious. When I walked into the room, she jumped, quickly ending the call. "Just a classmate," she explained, her cheeks flushed. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was crazy. Was I imagining her pulling away? Was I reading too much into her secrecy? Or was there something she wasn't telling me? I decided I needed proof. I wasn't going to accuse her without knowing the truth. If she was hiding something, I'd find out. And if she wasn't, then I'd confront the insecurities eating away at me. Either way, I needed clarity. Last week, everything fell apart. It started like any other Wednesday morning. I was running late for work and couldn't find my phone. Frustrated, I asked Mia if I could use hers to call it. She handed me her phone without hesitation, which threw me off. I was expecting a moment of panic, maybe some excuse about why she couldn't let me use it. But no, she handed it over, completely calm. For a moment, I thought I was overreacting. As I unlocked her phone, her Instagram messages were still open on the screen. My heart stopped when I saw the top message. I can't stop thinking about last night. You make me feel things I've never felt before. My chest tightened. I told myself it was a misunderstanding, but curiosity got the better of me. I scrolled up. Each message I read was like another punch to the gut. It wasn't just flirting. It was explicit. They talked about how much they missed each other, how they couldn't wait to meet again. One message was from just a few nights ago. You looked so beautiful under the moonlight. The pit in my stomach grew deeper. This wasn't just some harmless texting. This was a full-blown affair. And also in one of the messages, they were mocking me. And then I saw his name, Alex, her ex. The one guy she'd always said was a mistake, someone she had no intention of ever speaking to again. I felt like a fool. For years, I had supported her, trusted her, and given her everything I could, and here she was, throwing it all away for some guy who couldn't hold a candle to me. The final blow came when I saw a picture she sent him. It was a selfie she'd taken in our bedroom, wearing the pajamas I had bought her. The caption read, "Something to think about tonight." My head was spinning. Every overtime shift I'd worked, every sacrifice I'd made to support her dreams, felt meaningless in that moment. I handed her phone back without a word. She smiled at me, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. "Thanks," she said casually. I nodded and left for work, my mind racing. At work, I couldn't focus. I replayed the messages in my head over and over. I wanted to confront her immediately, but I knew I needed to calm down. Confronting her in anger wouldn't solve anything. I needed to think this through. By the time my shift ended, I had a plan. When I got home that evening, Mia was in the kitchen cooking dinner. She greeted me with a kiss and asked how my day was. I forced a smile and mumbled something about being tired. She didn't suspect a thing. I sat at the table, watching her move around the kitchen, laughing at her own jokes and humming to herself. It made me sick. How could she act so normal when she was sneaking around behind my back? That night, as she slept beside me, I made a decision. This wasn't going to be a simple breakup. Mia had taken advantage of my love and trust. She needed to face the consequences of her actions, and I was going to make sure she did. I started replaying every suspicious moment over the past few months. The late nights, the dodgy explanations, the secrecy around her phone. It all made sense now. I wanted to rage, to throw her out of my apartment that instant, but I knew that would be too easy. She had betrayed me, disrespected everything I'd done for her, and I wasn't about to let her walk away without facing the fallout. This wasn't just about ending things, it was about reclaiming my dignity. I spent the rest of the night awake, formulating my next move. By morning, I knew exactly what I had to do. The next day, while Mia was out at school, I began packing her things. Every piece of clothing, every book, every little item that belonged to her. It all went into boxes. I wasn't reckless about it. I wanted to make sure she couldn't accuse me of breaking or throwing away her things. By the time I was done, her presence in the apartment had been reduced to a neat stack of boxes by the door. Next, I called a locksmith. I explained the situation, and though the guy on the phone seemed hesitant at first, he agreed to come out the following morning. The locks were going to be changed, and Mia wasn't getting back in without my permission. It felt symbolic, taking control of my space and shutting her out of it entirely. But changing the locks wasn't enough. I needed her to understand the depth of her betrayal. She'd taken my trust, my support, and my love for granted. Over the next few hours, I began going through our shared finances. Rent, groceries, tuition payments. I tallied it all up. The total was staggering. Seeing it laid out in black and white fueled my anger even more. She'd leeched off me for years while sneaking around behind my back. I also took the time to compile evidence. Screenshots of her messages with Alex, photos she'd sent him, and even the timestamps on her so-called study sessions. I saved everything onto a flash drive and backed it up on my laptop. If Mia tried to play the victim or twist the story, I was going to be ready. That evening, Mia came home, completely unaware of what was waiting for her. She walked through the door with her usual cheery smile, greeted me with a kiss, and started talking about her day. I could barely look at her. Every word out of her mouth felt like another lie. Finally, I interrupted her. "We need to talk," I said, my voice cold and steady. Her smile faltered. "What's wrong?" she asked, trying to sound concerned. I gestured toward the boxes by the door. "Your stuff is packed. You're not staying here anymore." Mia's eyes widened. "What are you talking about?" she stammered. I pulled out my phone and opened the screenshots of her messages with Alex. "This," I said, holding the screen up for her to see. "And this, and this." I flipped through the images, each one more damning than the last. Her face went pale. "I can explain," she whispered. I laughed bitterly. "Oh, I'd love to hear it. Explain how you were sneaking around with your ex while I was working overtime to support your dreams. Explain how you sent him pictures from our bedroom. Go ahead, Mia, I'm listening." She opened her mouth, but no words came out. For once, she had nothing to say. "That's what I thought," I said. "You need to leave. The locks are being changed tomorrow. Don't come back." Mia tried to argue, to beg, to cry, but I didn't budge. She'd made her choices, and now she had to face the consequences. By the time she left that night, carrying her boxes out to her car, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. This was just the beginning of her fallout. The first step was social media. Mia had built this facade of being a hardworking, ambitious woman, chasing her dreams. Her posts were curated to make her look inspiring, full of those corny motivational quotes and pictures of her studying with a latte in hand. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, she was sneaking around with her ex and mooching off the man funding her entire life. I wasn't about to let her keep that shiny image. I posted a straightforward message to my account. People show you their true colors when you least expect it. Imagine supporting someone's dreams only to find out they're meeting their ex behind your back, using your home and your money. Let's not sugarcoat betrayal. I didn't tag Mia directly, but anyone who knew us, our friends, mutual acquaintances, her classmates, would connect the dots. I attached screenshots of her conversations with Alex, the photos she'd sent him, and even a shot of the receipt for her tuition payment. The reaction was immediate. Comments started flooding in, people DMing me to ask what happened or expressing their shock. Some people tried to defend her, but the evidence was too damning. And then came the best part. Mia herself commented, "I can't believe you're airing our personal life like this. This is childish and pathetic." I fired back with, "What's pathetic is sneaking around with your ex while pretending to be a victim. What's childish is using someone's money and trust while planning your next betrayal. Own up to your actions." The silence after that was deafening. Mutual friends who had always kissed up to Mia suddenly started unfollowing her. I heard through the grapevine that Jessica, a girl in her class who had always been competitive with Mia, screenshotted the post and shared it with their professors. Academic reputations are fragile, and Mia's was starting to crack. Meanwhile, I wasn't done with Alex either. The guy thought he could waltz back into Mia's life and undermine everything I had built? Wrong. I started digging into his history. It didn't take long to find a pattern. Unpaid debts, a string of failed relationships, and stories from mutual acquaintances about how he mooched off anyone who let him. Using a burner account, I sent anonymous messages to people in his social circles, attaching proof of his lies and debts. It wasn't long before Alex's reputation was as trashed as Mia's. He lost his job shortly after. Something about showing up drunk one too many times. Perfect. Once Mia was out of my apartment, I thought that would be the end of it. But I underestimated her sense of entitlement and sheer stupidity. Mia wasn't content to just lick her wounds and move on. She wanted to paint herself as the victim and make me look like the bad guy. Unfortunately for her, I was always a few steps ahead, and karma was just getting started. Mia's first move was to run to our mutual friends. She spun this sob story about how I blew things out of proportion and humiliated her. She claimed the messages with Alex were harmless, just old friends catching up, and that I had overreacted because I was insecure. For a minute, it seemed like some of our more gullible friends were buying into it. But then I dropped the screenshots. The ones with the timestamps, the explicit messages, and the selfies she'd sent him from our bedroom. That shut down the pity train real fast. "Are you seriously still defending her?" I texted one friend who tried to stay neutral. "Look at the evidence. She was cheating on me while I was paying her bills and supporting her dreams. You think that's okay?" That was the last time I heard from that particular friend. Others, thankfully, sided with me outright. They knew how much I had sacrificed for Mia and how much she had taken advantage of me. Slowly but surely, the truth spread, and Mia's reputation started to crumble. Meanwhile, Mia's actions were having ripple effects beyond just our social circle. Remember Jessica, the competitive classmate who was always gunning for Mia's spot as the teacher's pet? Well, Jessica got wind of what had happened, and she wasn't about to let an opportunity like this slip by. She started sharing the story, discreetly at first, but then more openly, among their peers and professors. Suddenly, Mia's academic integrity was being questioned. People started wondering if her success was earned or if she had been manipulating others, just like she had manipulated me. Her classmates began to avoid her, and group project invitations dried up. The professors didn't outright accuse her of anything, but the subtle shift in their attitudes was obvious. Mia, who once thrived on being the star pupil, found herself increasingly isolated. And then there was her family. I didn't have to do much to get them involved. They found out on their own. A mutual friend, likely someone tired of Mia's endless whining, mentioned the situation to her parents. Mia's dad was furious. From what I heard, he confronted her at home, demanding to know if the rumors were true. When she tried to downplay it, he pulled up the screenshots himself. "You've embarrassed yourself and this family," he reportedly told her. "Daniel worked his ass off for you, and this is how you repay him?" Her mom, who had always babied Mia, tried to defend her, but even she couldn't argue with the evidence. They gave her an ultimatum: shape up or find somewhere else to live. Mia, being the stubborn fool she was, decided to leave. She thought she could rely on Alex to pick up the pieces, but she was in for a rude awakening. Turns out Alex wasn't the knight in shining armor she thought he was. After losing his job, thanks to some misunderstandings with his employer that may or may not have involved a burner account and a well-timed tip from me, he was in no position to support anyone. The two of them ended up couch surfing at first, but even that didn't last long. Their friends got tired of the drama and the freeloading, and before long, Mia and Alex found themselves homeless. One evening, I was filling up my car at a gas station when I saw them. They were sitting in a beat-up car parked near the back of the lot, looking absolutely miserable. Mia was scrolling through her phone with a look of frustration, while Alex sat with his head in his hands. They didn't see me at first, but I made sure they did. I strolled past their car on my way to the store, making eye contact with Mia through the window. Her face turned bright red, and she quickly looked away. Alex didn't even lift his head. I didn't say anything, just smirked and kept walking. The sight of them sitting there, broken and defeated, was more satisfying than any words could ever be. After that, I heard bits and pieces about their downfall through mutual acquaintances. Mia was working odd jobs, barely scraping by. Alex had tried to get another job, but his reputation and his drinking problem kept catching up with him. The two of them were constantly fighting, blaming each other for their situation. "She's a nightmare," one of their former friends told me. "All she does is complain about how hard her life is now, like she didn't bring this on herself. Good. Let her stew in the mess she made." Meanwhile, my life was looking up. I'd started going out more, reconnecting with old friends, and focusing on myself. Work was going great, and I even started dating again. It felt good to be free of Mia's toxicity and to reclaim my time and energy for things and people that actually mattered. One day, I got a call from Mia's younger brother, Eric. He'd always been cool with me, and we'd stayed in touch even after everything went down. "Hey man," he said. "Just wanted to let you know, my parents are still pissed at Mia. She's been trying to get back in their good graces, but Dad's not having it. He said she burned too many bridges." I couldn't help but laugh. "Well, maybe she'll finally learn some accountability." Eric chuckled. "Yeah, maybe. Just thought you'd like to know karma's still doing its thing." While I was thriving, Mia and Alex were sinking deeper into their mess. The last I heard, they had been kicked out of the car they were staying in after Alex got into an argument with the owner. Word got around that Alex had finally bailed on Mia, leaving her with no money and nowhere to go. She ended up crashing with a distant relative, someone who didn't know the full extent of her drama. It wasn't long before that arrangement fell apart too. Mia's entitled behavior and constant complaints were too much for anyone to handle. The final blow came when Jessica, her former classmate, shared an anonymous tip with one of their professors about Mia's unethical behavior during group projects. It led to a formal investigation, and while nothing could be definitively proven, the stigma stuck. Mia's dreams of becoming a medical professional were effectively over. No one wanted to work with someone whose reputation was tainted by lies and manipulation. Meanwhile, my relationship with my new girlfriend Emma is growing. She became a constant source of joy and support, and together, we're building a life that's free of drama and toxicity. We have trips planned, new hobbies to explore, and goals to reach together. Being with her reminds me of what a healthy relationship is supposed to feel like. Mia and Alex were nothing more than a distant memory now, a cautionary tale about what happens when you take advantage of the wrong person. As for me, I was finally living the life I deserved, one filled with love, respect, and endless possibilities. And for that, I couldn't have been more grateful. Update. Hi Reddit, it's me again. Just when I thought Mia was finally out of my life for good, she found a way to claw her way back. It had been months since I'd seen or heard from her directly, but I still heard about her downward spiral through mutual acquaintances. Every update only reinforced what I already knew. I dodged a bullet. So, imagine my surprise when one evening, just as I was settling in for a relaxing night, there was a knock at my door. I wasn't expecting anyone, and when I opened the door, there she was, Mia. She looked nothing like the woman I'd once been with. Her hair was disheveled, her clothes wrinkled, and there were dark circles under her eyes. It was obvious she hadn't been doing well, but I wasn't about to feel sorry for her. "What do you want, Mia?" I said, leaning against the doorframe, making no effort to invite her in. Her lip quivered as she tried to force tears that weren't quite there. "Daniel, I need to talk to you. It's important." I folded my arms. "I don't think we have anything to talk about." "Please," she said, her voice breaking. "Just 5 minutes. I swear." I should have slammed the door in her face, but curiosity got me. I stepped aside reluctantly, gesturing for her to come in. She walked in cautiously, like she knew she didn't belong there anymore, and sat on the edge of the couch, fidgeting with her hands. "What's this about?" I asked, keeping my tone cold. She hesitated, her eyes darting around the room. I don't know how to say this, but I'm pregnant." I stared at her, expressionless. "And why are you telling me this?" Her eyes widened, as if the answer should have been obvious. "Because it's yours, Daniel. Or the father." I couldn't help but laugh, a deep, humorless sound that echoed through the room. "You really expect me to believe that? After everything you did? After Alex and God knows who else?" Her face flushed. "It's not Alex's, I swear. It's yours. I haven't been with anyone else since before we broke up." I raised an eyebrow. "You expect me to take your word for it? The same word that wasn't worth anything when you were sneaking around behind my back?" Tears started streaming down her face now, and this time, they seemed real. "Daniel, I know I messed up. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But this isn't about me. It's about the baby. Our baby." I shook my head, my patience wearing thin. "You've got some nerve coming here, Mia. You think you can waltz back into my life and drop this bomb, expecting me to just take responsibility without proof? That's not how this works." "I'll do a paternity test," she said quickly. "I'll prove it to you. Please, Daniel, just don't shut me out. I don't have anyone else." And there it was. The real reason she was here. She wasn't looking for me because she wanted to make amends, or because she cared about the truth. She was here because she had burned every other bridge and had no one left to turn to. She needed a lifeline, and I was her last resort. I leaned forward, making sure my voice was calm but firm. "Let me make something clear, Mia. If, and that's a big if, that child is mine, I'll do what's legally required to support them. But that's it. You and I, we're done. Don't think for a second that this changes anything between us." Her shoulders sagged, and for a moment, she looked like she might argue. But then she nodded. "Okay," she whispered. "I understand." "Good," I said, standing up and opening the door. "Now leave." She looked like she wanted to say something else, but she thought better of it and walked out without another word. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. I made arrangements for a paternity test, insisting that everything go through official channels. I wasn't about to let Mia manipulate the situation or take advantage of me again. She complied, probably because she had no other choice. When the results came back, they confirmed what I'd suspected all along. I wasn't the father. I sat in my car outside the testing facility, staring at the paper in my hands, a mix of relief and anger washing over me. She had lied. Again. Whether she genuinely believed I was the father, or was just grasping at straws to reel me back in, didn't matter. The result was the same. She had tried to use me, and it had backfired spectacularly. I wasted no time confronting her. I called her and told her to meet me at a nearby park, a public place where she couldn't make a scene. When she arrived, I didn't mince words. "It's not mine," I said, holding up the test results. Her face went pale. That's not possible," she stammered. "There must be a mistake." "There's no mistake," I said, my voice icy. "You lied to me, Mia. Again. And this time, you thought you could trap me with a fake pregnancy story. What the hell is wrong with you?" "I wasn't lying," she cried, tears streaming down her face. "I thought it was yours. Swear. Save it." I snapped. I don't care what you thought. The fact is, you dragged me into your mess for no reason. Do you have any idea how disgusting that is? She sobbed, her entire body shaking, but I didn't feel a shred of sympathy. This wasn't about her feelings. This was about her blatant disrespect for me and my life. This is the last time you mess with me, Mia, I said, stepping closer to her. I don't want to see you, hear from you, or even hear your name ever again. You're done. Do you understand me? She nodded, her sobs choking her words. But I didn't wait for a response. I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there in the middle of the park, a broken shell of the woman who had once thought she could control me. That was the last time I saw Mia. True to her word, or maybe out of sheer fear, she never tried to contact me again. Every now and then, I'd hear bits and pieces about her through mutual friends, but it was always the same story. She was still struggling, still blaming everyone else for her problems, and still incapable of taking responsibility for her actions. As for me, life continued to improve. My relationship with Emma grew stronger, my career flourished, and I finally felt at peace knowing I had taken back control of my life. Mia's desperate attempt to manipulate me with the pregnancy had only reinforced what I already knew. I was better off without her, and nothing she could ever do would change that. Sorry if I made this so long, Reddit. I just wanted to show you how far Mia's audacity can go. She wanted to exploit me until the very end. Thank God I'm not the father. I can't imagine my future kid having an awful mother like her.